What about the Richat structure?
You know, people ask me about that, the Eye of the Sahara. I usually say, you know what? Go to Corsetti, go to Bright Insight, go to Randall Carlson.
Corsetti's the most. Randall Carlson doesn't believe that that was Atlantis.
Right.
But Corsetti makes a very compelling case. Mountains to the north, river to the south.
The circular, the concentric rings.
The concentric rings, they're the correct size.
Yep.
The fact that there's still salt on the ground there.
I want to believe it.
Yeah.
You know,
and then there's like when you pull back and you get the satellite image of the surface and it looks like it was just completely deluged.
It does.
Yeah.
Well, we know for a fact it was deluged.
Yeah.
Does it line up with Atlantis? I mean, Carlson has shown us how the surface of Africa was just altered.
Yeah.
By the flood. So it all lines up, but there's all these leaps that we have to make. I enjoy making them.
Yeah.
But on my show, I try to let people know, look, I connected some dots here. You know, I had to fill in some gaps with a little bit of creative license. But if you're interested, go pursue it. Go learn more. I want that to be Atlantis.
Yeah, it seems like Atlantis was a real place. Because, once they found out that Troy was a real place, Troy was also dismissed, right?
Yes, it was.
They found out, no, Troy actually existed. It doesn't seem like any of those stories were bullshit. It seems like they were historical accounts. And the thing about Plato's writings about Atlantis, he talks about it having existed 900 years prior, which lines up perfectly with the Younger Dryas.
Right, and he learned it from an Egyptian priest who learned it from someone else. So the story goes back beyond Plato, if you believe Plato, which you can believe Plato.
Well, he was right about a lot of things. And it's so fascinating when we think of like that kind of historical record keeping, that you're getting these depictions of what kind of a civilization existed thousands and thousands of years ago.
Right, so with Homer's Iliad, what did they think he was writing about? A fictional place? I mean, that was this.
I think I said 900 years. I meant 9,000 years.
9,000, right.
Years, yeah. Which is like, first of all, like, how do you get 9,000 years of history 2,000 years ago? Like, what are you even getting?
Yeah.
Like, how are these stories, how are they documented? Like, how do they pass them? How do they pass them on? Like, who are the original people? Like, what's the actual version of the story? Like, which one is more accurate? Epic of Gilgamesh, Noah's Ark? Like, something seems to exist in almost every ancient civilization.
They all have a flood myth.
Yeah.
And, Gilgamesh and Noah's Ark, they're very similar stories. And there are other cultures that have a Noah's Ark story.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my favorite currently. I've seen like a ton of videos, and I think Jimmy Corsetti does the best job about the Richat structure, but he's all in on it.
Yes.
And I think, look, it doesn't look natural.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't. It looks like and it's like, what a coincidence that it matches the dimensions of Atlantis as described.
And it's in the right place. So,
Yeah.
When people argue for Bimini being Atlantis, it's like, nah, they didn't know what any of that was, but they knew what North Africa was.
Right. And also, it's so close to Egypt. It's so close to what we already know was a super advanced civilization that existed.
There's been no excavations of that?
I don't believe so. Of the Richat structure?
Yeah, I'm reading all about it.
What have they done? Like deep?
1974 was discovered. They found artifacts. Looking right now, that's what I was about to show you. This isn't a great example, but there's other. This isn't it. Another eye that looks similar to it in the same area.
Interesting.
Then the comments say that there's even 2 or 3 of these.
Whoa.
And I was reading Stephen Novella's breakdown of Jimmy's video. He says he's leaving out some known facts, like there was a canal that connected each of the circles that isn't apparent in the Richat structure. But those are the things I was just getting at right now.
But this looks like canals.
Well, that's a different one. This isn't the Richat structure.
Right.
Show the Richat structure.
And the Richat structure is strange because the coloration is different than the rest of the
That was also the depictions of the colors of the rocks is the same. Red and black. Yeah, like that is fucking crazy. That's crazy.
It is.
The one guy who found artifacts said there was some stuff like out here on the outer circles, but not very many inside.
Well, the question is like, how big was the catastrophe and how much would be left? And what would you actually see? You know, like how much was the structure altered by whatever the fuck happened?
Right. So when we talk about ancient advanced civilizations, we're not talking about more advanced than us. We just mean advanced.
Right.
So people will say, well, where's their plastic? Where's their...
Yeah, but
Well,
it doesn't have to be the same
doesn't.
kind of advance.
It doesn't.
Combustion engines, all the different things that we've done, electronics, like we're just assuming that technology always goes in the exact same path. But it's whatever the fuck they were doing, whatever we know they were doing in Egypt was extraordinary with in terms of like their ability to core, the drills, when they have these cores that they like high-speed drills
Yep.
that seem to be like, if not diamond tipped, something of a similar vein that allowed them to dig into that fucking granite like that. Like,
Right. How did they generate 2,000 RPMs or whatever?
Right.
How could they do that?
yeah, it's all freaky, man. It's like the history. I mean, Graham has the best depiction. He said, "We are a species with amnesia."
That's the perfect way to say it. You know, it's a shame that he's marginalized, but I like that Netflix is stuck by him and
Yeah.
going to keep pumping those out.
Well, the facts are the facts. You know, just the structures that he's uncovering. When you're looking at Gunung Padang, when you're looking at all these different places, when you look at, you know, just Machu Picchu, all these different places. Like, what the fuck was going on? Like, why is this stuff so complex? Why is it so fascinating?
And why
You know?
aren't we allowed to ask? Why aren't we allowed to investigate it?
Yeah.
Remember when his Ancient Apocalypse Season 1 came out, there was a British newspaper said Graham Hancock is the most dangerous man in the world because of the
Those
white
guys are just dumbasses.
Oh,
Well,
come
they
on,
always
man.
want to connect it to white supremacy, which is so crazy because Graham Hancock is the furthest from a white supremacist. You know, he's married to a woman of color. He's like the sweetest, nicest guy. He's a vegan.
Of course.
He
never said they were white folks.
No, no one says that.
And who cares? I just
Right.
want to know who they were.
Well, they couldn't be white folks because white folks don't live there.
No.
Like if they're Egyptians, they're Africans.
Right.
Like, the Africans were the most sophisticated civilization that we have ever seen that existed at that point in time. We don't know if they're as sophisticated as we are, but we know they did some stuff back then that we're not capable of today.
Yes,
And that's real.
it is.
And we don't know how. We don't know what technology they had. But here's the thing. If it's not from 2500 BC, if it's really from 30,000 BC, what do you think would be left? Like only maybe the stone.
That would be it.
That's part of the problem.
I
Like
mean,
steel, any kind of
It'd be
metal,
gone. It
Yeah.
would only take 100 years for Manhattan to be covered by vegetation.
Right.
1,000 years, the skyscrapers would crumble.
Right.
10,000 years, it'd all be washed away.
Right. 100,000 years, you're not going to see jack shit.
Nothing.
Nothing. Yeah. Who was that British archaeologist that we brought up the other day, Jamie? With the where he has this like really good point that human beings have been in essentially the same form for the last 300,000 years. Like it's not outside the realm of possibility that we have achieved very high levels of sophistication multiple times and have been knocked back down to the Stone Age again
Sure.
by cataclysmic events.
Right. And that makes a lot of sense to me, that it's
Yeah.
just part of a cycle.
Yeah.
You know, the doomsday clock it's kind of a real thing. Is you just get to a level of technology where you just are too dangerous for your own good. We're not sophisticated enough for nuclear weapons. We're not smart enough to have those.
No. Well, that's the hope, is that that's what the aliens are here for. To go, hey, 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 hey.
Right? Because they have.
Yeah. Put
But then
that down.
why did they allow just the United States to detonate 60-something bombs? And
Well, here's the thing. 2 of them that caused mass death, right? Hiroshima and Nagasaki. But that's also when the UFO started showing up in mass, you know. And, you know, I have this comedy club called the Comedy Mothership. And the rooms are named Fat Man and Little Boy.
okay.
And the reason why is because in UFO folklore, after those bombs were dropped, that's when the mothership started showing up.
Right.
Yeah.
And in some tests, you can see stuff in the sky in the films. I think you can see something at Castle Bravo. Could be wrong, but there are some tests where you can see stuff in the sky. Like, what was that for a few frames? Like, they were keeping an eye on. I hope they are.
Yeah. That would be nice.
Please.
That would be nice.